Ay, give me the chip, I need the championship. Wait, we got a dream, next to the team, yeah, we can handle it.
What up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fight Pit. It is your boys in the house. We are here taking a little bit of a breather. We got a little week off break after UFC 314. So this is our first edition of UFC Today. What's happening? We're just going to be discussing some recent UFC topics, going over pretty much anything that's going on outside of the actual fights and the fight cards, doing a little bit of matchmaking, just shooting the shit as we do. That's what we're here for. Today, your boy Drew, and always important staple of the Fight Pit, Sean Ryan Sports. Sean, good to see you. How you doing today, my man?
Good to see you too. Doing pretty good. Excited to talk about like something different. We normally just break down fights and who we think are going to win. Here we're going to kind of give our opinions on what's going on in UFC past and present at the moment and where the UFC is right now.
Yes. This is something that we always say, like it's tough for us whenever we don't have UFC cards and can't do these episodes, and we have to take like a week or 2 weeks or a month or so off. So this is how we are going to alleviate that, and nothing else I would rather be doing, honestly. It is hot today, so I might be sweating a little bit, but it's not because of any fights or picks that I'm sweating. No bets that I'm sweating today. It's purely just topics and discussion today. Sean, you want to go ahead and get us going on the first one?
Yeah, the first big thing that everyone talks about since honestly before Stipe and Jon Jones happened in Madison Square Garden is Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. We heard from Dana White something about the first half of this year, and up to the last month, Dana was still trying to talk about, yeah, this fight is going to happen, everything like that. But then came around the Alex Pereira card, and Alex Pereira versus Ankalaev, and he was talking about there's big things coming up for Jon Jones, and it seemed like he wasn't answering anything about Tom Aspinall. It almost seemed like he was banking on having an Alex Pereira Jon Jones fight.
Right.
So now that that's over with, he's talked about, Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall should be happening. And we haven't even got anything from it. You have Tom Aspinall saying he's sick of it. He's sick of the questions. He wants to know if it's happening or not. He doesn't know if it's even happening. He just wants to fight for the undisputed title. And I have a certain couple opinions on this, but so we're going to talk about more like, is this fight ever going to happen? And if it does, when will it happen?
Dude, I think that I speak for all of us when I say that it should have already happened, and we're all probably pretty sick of hearing about it. I posted the clip of Tom Aspinall with the duck at the last UFC event. Did very well. Did crazy engagement, crazy numbers. Appreciate everybody, all the new followers and everything just from that video. But at this point, it's, it is kind of funny to see stuff like that. It's like a running joke. Tom Aspinall with the duck and Jon Jones, quote unquote, holding out for money, holding out for legacy, things like that. But man, honestly, at this point, like, I wish they would either make the fight or just Jones would just retire and vacate so we can just move on with it. Because it's kind of, for us diehards, for us that are like super deep into it, it's kind of run its course. Like, it's not really even all that funny anymore. It's just annoying at this point. And the point that you made too, Jon Jones, was I saw in an interview that he was talking about like really holding out for that Alex Pereira fight. He felt that was something that was more impactful to his legacy than the Tom Aspinall one. And also that he, at this point in his career, he's looking to just share the cage and share the press conferences and share the stage and share the camp and like the lead up and the build up with just people that he likes. And I don't disagree with that. Like, that's Jon Jones is, you know, for all intents and purposes, the GOAT of MMA and of the UFC. And he has reached the point where he can definitely decide who he wants to spend his time with and share the stage with. You know, we've heard it from a lot of guys over time where, like, Dustin Poirier saying that he would never fight Colby Covington because he would never want to give Colby Covington a paycheck off of, you know, being able to fight Dustin Poirier or give him spotlight and stuff like that. We've heard many guys say stuff like that, and it's a valid argument. It's a valid point, honestly. Like, I get it. You're going to be sharing the stage. You're going to have to stand face to face with this person. You're going to have to do interviews. You remember the old school, like, where Dominic Cruz and TJ Dillashaw were sat with each other, and like Jon Jones and DC, where they would have those like UFC, I can't remember what they were called, but like UFC insider interviews where like it was like Joe Rogan or somebody moderating, and it was just them having to sit face to face with each other and just talk shit for like an hour. And I totally, you know, I'm a little older, late 30s. I totally understand not wanting to spend any time around people you don't like. I get it. I do the same myself. Like, I'm not around anybody that I don't want to fucking be around. But at the same time, me not being around somebody that I don't want to be around isn't holding up an entire division in the UFC. It's not, I'm not sitting on a belt. I'm not sitting on an undisputed belt and holding up a line or anything like that. So, and then of course Alex Pereira loses his last fight, so now the aura and the possibility of, you know, extending Jon Jones's legacy as one of the best of all time kind of diminishes a little bit when it comes to Alex Pereira. So Jon Jones really has nowhere else to go. You don't have anywhere else to look. You don't have somebody else that you can say that you prefer to put in place of Tom Aspinall, and he's the interim champ. He's defended the interim championship. We gotta get this going. We gotta do something at this point.
I 100% agree. To add on to it, Jon Jones said something about needing 6 months of preparation, and he's already posted on one of his social medias about almost soon going to be the longest reigning heavyweight champion of all time, passing Stipe Miocic. And it's like, you've legitimately won the belt against Ciryl Gane that has zero grappling, and then beat a 42-year-old Stipe Miocic that hasn't fought in 4 years. So it's like, you have 2 fights and you're going to have the longest time with the belt. That's actually a bad thing, John. Like, Stipe fought 5 championship fights in that period of time. He won the belt, he defended it 3 times, and then he eventually lost it. But 5 title fights in that period of time that you're going to have 2. Like, and even that, people were saying that Stipe, like, he wasn't fighting enough. Like, he was. That's the thing. The heavyweight division, the heavyweight championship has always been like 1 championship fight a year. It's kind of sucks, but But Stipe was still pushing it down to like 9 months per fight, which is, that at least is fine. We'll take it. Like, at least we know, like, we're going to get maybe one of the next 3 years, we're going to get 2 heavyweight championship fights. But that's just not the case with John, with Stipe, with Francis. Like, none of these were the cases. And if I'm Dana, but the thing is, this is if I was Dana and Hunter and so on, I'd be telling him that, hey, we need to know, are you fighting Tom Aspinall for the belt? If not, the day before the record comes up, we're stripping you. So you are not getting that record. We're just sitting there, not doing anything, and then wait. Because what he could do, this is legitimately what I think John's going to do. I do not believe we're getting this fight. As much as stuff like much money they could give and it would still make money, I don't think they're going to give him the crazy money he wants. And I think he's going to get the title for having the longest reign at heavyweight, and the longest reign at light heavyweight, and then he's just going to retire. Even though it's not the most title defenses, nothing like that. It's just having it for the belt the longest period of time. Just so it looks like 10 years down the line, they're just going to see that and be like, oh, wow, he was that good at heavyweight? No. you gotta look it up. So that's what I'd personally do, but we know Dana White is anything for Jon Jones situation. Like, if this was any other sport
all the way up
MMA, any other sport than MMA, Jon would be way out of this organization, and there would not be a GOAT conversation for Jon Jones. So it's and this isn't a Jon Jones hating committee here. Like, we love the sport and we love watching Jon Jones fight. We're just asking Jon Jones to fight. That's all we're asking. We're not asking anything else. Like, fight. That's it. That's the only thing we're asking for. We're not asking about the money. We're not asking about, are you afraid of this guy? Not afraid of, you're ducking him. You're not ducking him. We just want the title to be fought for. That's it.
Just get it going. Get it going 100%. And it's, I 1,000,000%, even though I am one of the few people who just like it made me feel so much better recently. I saw Demetrius Johnson have the same take when he was talking with Rampage and the Jackson podcast and them. A lot of people discredit the Matt Hamill loss, and I totally understand why. I totally get that, you know, the illegal move that he did to lose that fight is no longer illegal. And in the same vein, the things that Nick Diaz got suspended for are no longer illegal. The things that Nate Diaz got you know, suspensions and fines for and stuff, no longer illegal. I totally get it, but I still am of the mind that Jon Jones is not undefeated. He is the GOAT, 1,000,000%. He's the GOAT in my opinion. He's the GOAT in not only light heavyweight, but in all of the UFC. But he's not undefeated. You know what I mean? And so when I see people like Dana White and everything talk about, you know, what's the word? Like overturning that loss so that his record is perfect and undefeated and everything. I'm not with that. I'm not with that, because it's like, if you think of things in terms of war, or if you think of it in terms of anything else, like the analogy that I always make is like, if you're going to war with someone and the person you're going to war with actually like pulls a pin on a grenade and doesn't throw it and blows themselves up, being like, oh, well, that's not really a loss for them because they lost themselves. No, Jon Jones, he did something that he wasn't supposed to do. He knew the rules and everything. He did something he wasn't supposed to do. And yeah, it's not illegal anymore, but it was illegal at the time. He blew himself up in that fight. He lost. With that being said, he's still the GOAT. He's still the GOAT. Doesn't matter whether he's got one loss or no losses. He's the GOAT outright. There's no question. And we still have the GOAT competing right now. And we're missing out on seeing him. Like, it is the end of his career. He will be retired, in my opinion. I think in our opinion, he will be retired in the next couple years or so. And we're missing out on seeing the GOAT fight right now. Like, fuck the belt, forget legacies, forget money, forget, you know, beefs and all of that. Put all of that aside. We have the GOAT with us right now. Like, if you think of how many people that we wish we could still watch fight, how many of us still wish that we could see GSP competing? How many of us wish, right? How many? Wouldn't it be awesome if we still got to see Demetrius Johnson competing in the UFC? Wouldn't it be amazing if we still got to see Daniel Cormier or Khabib Nurmagomedov or anybody, any of the GOATs, anybody in the top 10 that you have on the GOAT list? Most of them are done. And we still have the number one, end all be all, number one GOAT of the whole shit right now. And we're missing out on it. So what it all boils down to for me is, like, put all that other stuff aside. I want to see Jon Jones keep fighting. I want to see him fight while we can. And, you know, there's a lot of semantics and a lot of extra bullshit going on, which I totally understand. It happens. But what it all boils down to for me is that we're missing out on seeing the greatest of all time continue to compete. And we were lucky enough to be fans during the golden age, during his ascent, and during his reign at light heavyweight, during his undefeated time. And it's unfortunate that we've had Jon Jones at heavyweight for however long you were saying. How many days is it at this point?
I have no idea, but he's only like 45 days away from breaking the record.
Yeah, so we've had the GOAT of the UFC at heavyweight, which we waited so long for. Like, people were talking about Jon Jones moving up to heavyweight damn near his entire career. And it took so long for us to get to this point, and now we're here, and it's just sitting there. It's just sitting there, going nowhere. And we've had him almost for the longest amount of time of any heavyweight champion. We've only seen him fight twice at heavyweight, essentially only once, because I mean, that's a real gone fight. That was what, a minute, 2 minutes?
Yeah.
That doesn't even feel like a fight. You know what I mean? And we're missing out. And it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, and not even about the heavyweight in general, but if you look back, he's like what, 37 now, Jon Jones? And he's had the belt since January of 2023. We're in April of 2025 with 2 fights. Obviously, you can't you can't hold it against him for having a pec tear. You get a pec tear, you get the surgery, get it repaired. It's going to take a lot of rehab, long time, then getting into a training camp. So that year off, I understand. Fully understand. That's a serious injury, but that needed to be dealt with. But you went from, like, before that fight, like before the break a year off, you had 3+ years of him off from the Dominic Reyes fight all the way till Ciryl Gane, 3 years. So we're talking about 5+ years with 2 fights of Jon Jones. And we keep talking GOAT. We talk about like prime and all this. Like, we could have had legitimately, and Chael Sonnen says this all the time, like, he says we could have had another 4 fights. Even if he fights once every 9 months, that would have been another 4 fights. You know how much money Jon Jones would have made with 4 more fights? How much more money he would have made? Like, he would have legitimately wouldn't have ever had to fight Stipe. He could have fought Stipe and retired right there on the spot, and how it would have had whatever money he's asking for with the Tom Aspinall, because he screwed up and didn't fight for 3 years. The thing is, his body hasn't changed that much other than some fat put on him. Like, legitimately, if he cut down all the fat off of him, guess what he is? Back at 205. So it's like those 3 years of gaining all this muscle and all this stuff. Dude, you just weighed like 237 pounds for your last fight. You cut 20 pounds of body fat off. You cut a few pounds of water weight, 205. Like, legitimately, all he did was eat my diet for a couple years. That's about it. Like, Jesus, like, come on. Like, we missed out on so much Jon Jones, and legitimately, as fans and diehards, all we're asking is to see you fight, or just give us your answer that you're done, so we can watch Tom Aspinall fight. Like, as I believe Tom will actually be a champion that will keep fighting. He will be asking for. All right, 6-7 months, let's fight again. Like, it might not be 3-4 months. It might not be an Alex Pereira or Israel Adesanya or Volkanovski. But we might have the most active champion since pre-injured Cain Velasquez. Like, that's the potential we have here. And we just want to get to it already. Like, even if Jon beats him, guess what? Jon retires then. And then, guess what? Aspinall's going to be fighting someone else for the title. It's just how it's going to go. And then the reign of Aspinall continues. Like, that's what it's going to be. And so we're not even saying that Aspinall 100% is going to win the fight either. We're just saying we want to see the fight happen. I'm going to jump into the next topic. I'm actually going to ask about another fight or two real quick before we jump into, like, UFC, where it's standing currently. And a big fight I want to talk about was just announced a week or two ago. at most. And it's Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili 2. I know it was rumored to happen, and we felt it was going to happen. But was this actually the fight to make? Was there another fight that was more deserved? I know the contenders right now aren't the best, but like you have maybe Peter Yan's maybe the most notable contender in a bantamweight that deserves a title shot, but Merab 50-45'd him. So it's like, do you really want to see that fight after Peter Yan's won a couple decisions in a row? It's like, it's not like he's been finishing people. He won a couple finishes in a row. So it's like, do we really need to see this rematch? But we get the Sean O'Malley rematch, and then we get Michael Chiesa say shit like, oh,
Chiesa, Michael Chiesa.
Yeah, you have to strike when the iron's hot. This is the fight to make. Okay, why is it the fight to make? Yeah. No other reason. No other reason. That's what he says. Strike when the iron's hot. What iron is hot? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I have one opinion who should be fighting for the bantamweight belt right now if they wanted it, and it's probably the most disrespected champion currently in the UFC, and that's Pantoja. Pantoja has won his belt and defended it against Royval, Steve Erceg, and the Japanese fighter. Do not know his name off the top of my head.
Asakura.
So 4 title fights in the last 2 years on top of it. I mean, is there a more active champion than that? Like, Alex Pereira just lost, so it would have been Alex Pereira. But so it's like, he should be, if anyone, he's lapped the division already. We're basically kind of hoping Kai Kara France off of one win gets in there, or Manel Comp, but it sounds like Manel Comp might be fighting Brandon Royval. That fight might be in the works right now, which is a great fight. But it's like, so legitimately right now we should be seeing a champ versus champ fight right here. And I know they want to get away from it a little bit unless he's willing to relinquish the 125 belt, and that's kind of what's rumored, and that's why Ilia relinquished his 145 belt, even though he has a lot of star power. So that's what I'm assuming. That's maybe Royval. Maybe there's stuff behind the scenes, and that's why he wants to stay at 125, and maybe they offered it to him. But do you think Merab versus Sean O'Malley too is what we need to be seeing in this division? Is there any better answers?
Personally, I fully agree with you. You know, striking while the iron's hot is one thing, but in this case with Sean O'Malley, the iron got cooled down quite a bit in the last fight. I understand the mentality of strike while the iron's hot, but in my humble opinion, who am I? What do I know? I don't think that iron is all that hot anymore. And I feel like, you know, we were campaigning. We saw Corey Sandhagen campaigning for that Sean O'Malley fight. I would have much rather saw Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen next. And I know Sandhagen is booked against Figueiredo. And if you guys, anybody watching, if you're not following Corey Sandhagen on Instagram, you need to right away, because he has completely grasped the concept of social media, and he's doing some very funny stuff. He has an OnlyFans page that he's been riffing on, and it's hilarious. It's amazing. Whoever he's working with, I don't know if all the ideas are fully his, or if he has, like, you know, some people working with him to try to put these ideas and stuff together, but it is hilarious. And I can only imagine what it would have been like had he been booked against Sean O'Malley right now. It would have been amazing. Like you were saying, right now we've got Corey Sandhagen at number 4 fighting Davison Figueiredo at number 5, Petr Yan at number 2, Umar Nurmagomedov at number 3. Putting Petr Yan versus Umar, I could see that. But especially after what we just saw with Merab and Sean O'Malley in the last one, what's he going to do different? I've seen interviews over the last few days of Sean O'Malley talking about how he doesn't use social media at all anymore in 2025. He's not smoking weed at all anymore. There's just a lot of stuff that he's changing. And I gotta hope that he's been working on wrestling while he's doing all that, because I'm the type of person that thinks in terms of, we hear like Chael Sonnen say it a lot, dance with the person that brought you. You know what I mean? Going into Sean O'Malley's title fight with Merab, Sean O'Malley had seemingly been doing everything right, aside from that Cheeto Vera fight with the freak, like ulnar, or not ulnar nerve, but whatever the nerve was that went out in that calf kick and everything. He had been perfect. And up until he fought Merab, we didn't see anything that he needed to we didn't see any holes. You know what I mean? Like, nobody had been able to keep him on the ground. Nobody had been able to outstrike him. Petr Yan caught him once or twice, but beyond that, it seemed as though he had been doing everything right. It seemed as though his ground game was good enough to keep him off the ground, and his striking was the best in the division at the time. And I just personally, I don't see how changing all these things is going to create a different outcome in a Merab rematch, other than just send Dagestan 2-3 years and forget. And who knows if that's what he's been doing. I hope that's what he's been doing, but I don't understand how anything is going to be different. And it's unfortunate that we could be getting things like you were saying, Pantoja versus Merab. Pantoja in that weight class, like you were saying, Brandon Royval ranked number 1, Moreno number 2. He just won over Steve Erceg, which wasn't a, highlight stellar performance or anything. Amir Albazi at number 3. Brandon Moreno just beat him. Kai Kara France, who hasn't got an outright title shot yet, so that would be something new. But there isn't much for Pantoja to be doing, and there isn't much that we wanted to see from Merab. So in a perfect world, I'm right on board with you. I think that ideally we should be getting Merab versus Pantoja and Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen. That's what I would hope for.
Yeah, I agree with both of those 100%. That Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen fight legitimately should have happened before even the Petr Yan fight. That should have happened before Petr Yan. It really should have. And then if he beat Corey Sandhagen, then maybe Petr Yan, then the title. That's how that should have ended out, but he got a fluky decision over Petr Yan, and then landed the punch that got him the title, and then immediately calls out Cheeto Vera off of 1 win. So it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, 1 win Cheeto Vera, here we go. Like, come on. Like, it's like there's too many of these like weird situations, like where guys are not taking on the best fighter in the weight class. And the answer is Merab. And then Umar, even though he only had 1 win and it was against Corey Sandhagen, was still the best fighter in the weight class at that time, other than the champ. Guess what they fought? Was Merab kind of upset, like, hey, he might not deserve it, Petr Yan kind of deserves it more? Yes, but you did 50-45 him. So I understand you want a very easy paycheck, but at the end of the day, like, let Petr Yan try to actually get a finish instead of a decision every single fight right now, and maybe we'll talk about it. Yeah. One more fight that I wanted to talk about, and this is one that's not in the books. This is one that's always been talked about, and this will lead into our next topic, which will be what could make 2025 better than it has been, and I will go over the fight cards from 2024 up to this point and up to 2025 up to this point to kind of give you an idea how 2025 has been way slower than 2024. And I want to talk about a fight that legitimately could change the whole year around. And this fight is Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. I know people already have the gripe with the idea of, hey, we haven't seen Ilia fight at 155. He only won 2 championship fights. But if you think of top 15 fighters of all time, Max Holloway and Volkanovski are in that. Ilia knocked them both out and cracked the uncrackable chin. There's times where you let people skip the line, and this is a perfect example of it. Islam Makhachev has no one to fight. What, you want to see Justin Gaethje against him? No, that's not a good idea. Just recycling the same thing, like Khabib, fight all Khabib's opponents from 5-6 years ago, fight who Charles fought 3 years ago. Like, no, we don't need to do this. Like, these guys are older and the same fighter, while you are just tiers above them. We want you to see you fight against Arman Tazoukian. That was an Arman's fault why he didn't fight. Playing with Nina Drama a little too much, trying to show off and got injured, whatever the case was. But he has to pay the consequence, pulling out in 24 hours. And it's like, at that point, he needs to fight someone. So, like, Ilia Topuria has all the hype, and it actually helps Islam if he takes this fight, wins this fight against Ilia that has all this hype, and then we don't know what's going to happen. If Belal wins the belt, you're not moving up to 170 yet. And you want to win at 170, you want to win that belt. But if he does lose and you beat Ilia, guess what? Now you're going up there with insane hype. Go up to 170. You win the 170 belt. We're not talking about top 5 greatest of all time. We're talking about number 1 greatest of all time.
Facts.
Legitimately. Like, you think of how many people in the top 5 pound for pound he would have beaten at this point. Like, he already has 2 wins over Volk, being a KO. He has beaten Charles Oliveira, was number 2 or number 3 pound for pound at the time when he beat him. He beat, if he beats Ilia, that Ilia is right up there in the top 3 or 4 of pound for pound, if I'm correct. It's like, you're beating all these guys in the top 3 to 4, and you're doing it in a row. Guess what? And you're a dominant champion, and this would be win number 16 to tie Anderson Silva for the record, and against Ilia Topuria, and make the record at 170, winning a second bout and breaking Anderson Silva. It's like, you can't deny greatest of all time, possibly, if this happens. So my opinion is, as much as I understand people's gripe about this, they could call me common fan, whatever you want. Who does he fight? And don't say Justin Gaethje or Arman, because Arman legitimately lost the privilege by pulling out 1 day early, playing around with Nina Drama. Well, stop the bullshit. What do you got? What do you think about Ilia versus Islam?
I like it. Honestly, I don't have any qualms with it. Ordinarily, I am of the mind that, like when Islam was talking about moving up to fight Leon, when Leon still had the belt, after just beating Volkanovski in his title defenses, having, I'm not opposed to champ fights. I'm not opposed to them at all. I totally like them if they're warranted. When you have guys who make the ascent up to the championship level of their division and then immediately start calling for champ fights, I'm not on board with that. But in this situation, like you said, we've got Islam Makhachev is number 1 pound for pound currently. Ilia Topuria is number 3 pound for pound. The only person in between them is Jon Jones. That's essentially a pound for pound champ fight. That totally makes sense. It's not either guy who just got the belt and is trying to do the Conor McGregor thing where they, try to call their shot as soon as they get there. And like we said before, we're from the golden age where guys like Anderson Silva reigned over the middleweight division, completely lapped the competition, cleared out the division, and then started taking light heavyweight fights in between. Jon Jones reigned over light heavyweight for so long, beat different generations over and over again. Khabib Nurmagomedov, even, like, getting up to being undefeated, getting all the way up to the champ, and then clearing out 2, 3, 4, 5, stuff like that. That warrants a division champ fight, in my opinion. Initially, I was not on board with Islam changing divisions or doing champ fights, but having somebody come in from another division to fight him, I'm totally cool with that. We've got Islam Makhachev, #1 pound for pound, and then in the lightweight division, like you were saying, Arman Sarukian is still ranked #1. I can understand them wanting to rebook that fight just because we technically haven't seen it yet, but I also do agree, like, you got there and then pulled out the day before. That's you're gonna have to earn that back. You're gonna have to earn that back. Having a win over Charles Oliveira is a good look for a championship fight campaign. And we saw, we posted it on the Fight Pit too, that ESPN Espanol leaked that Ilia will most likely be fighting Charles Oliveira, or that's something that they have planned. I like the fight. I like it. Beating Charles Oliveira would absolutely put Ilia in line for the next title shot. But does it kind of, it makes sense, but I also would see that, you know, putting Ilia straight into a title fight, I think that at this point that makes sense too. They're both awesome fights. I'm not mad at seeing Ilia versus Charles Oliveira, and it does make sense if you're looking at, like, Ilia Topuria needs to get a win at 155 to prove that he can hang before he goes up. But we saw Volk do it. Volk didn't have to fight anybody at 155. He didn't have to fight a #1 or #2 contender before they threw him in with Islam. And Volk, at the time, had cleared out his division. He had, and even went back to 45 and continued to fight at 45 and everything. That's totally fine. Ilia has outright vacated his belt, so he's done at 45. It's not even like a champ fight at this point. It's just a 55 championship fight. So I just, it would make sense to have Ilia fighting Islam, and Islam doesn't have, you know, other than Arman. I get it. If they really want to run Islam versus Arman to make it official and be like, okay, Islam has officially cleared out all the top contenders at 55. We want to, you know, do something different with them and everything. I get that. But in this unique situation, I'm with you. I think that Ilia versus Islam, cashing in on the hype, cashing in on where both of them are at right now. Because if Ilia goes to 55 and loses to Charles Oliveira, that's not going to be an easy fight. That's not a fucking warm-up fight or anything. That's not a lightweight smoker type of deal for him. Ilia could very well go in there and just get mopped by Charles Oliveira, and then it's gone. Who wants to see Ilia versus Islam after Charles Oliveira just halted all that shit? Nobody. So I think I'm with you on that. I think it's definitely a missed opportunity, and if all the rumors with Ilia versus Charles Oliveira end up not being true, and they end up putting Ilia versus Islam, I'm not going to be mad at it at all.
And then this is perfect because this leads into the conversation of basically what's going on in UFC with the cards this year. Like, if you could pull up like the UFC events for this year, I went back to January of last year, and we can read off the card, like who's on the card and maybe the co-main event, and we're just going to say which card was better. And I'm pretty sure the obvious answer is going to be 2024, and by a long margin. And we're just and we're not even up to UFC 300 technically, you think of, because that didn't happen until mid to later April. So we're only going to go to the first card of April. The first event in 2024 was Ankalaev versus Walker 2. Not too great, but Walker basically showed that he is the guy. He beat that. You had Jim Miller getting a win. Obviously, anytime Jim Miller is on a card, you're going to want to watch. Jim Miller winning against Gabriel Benavidez. No, it's Benitez or something like that. No deer.
Oh, Benitez, yeah.
Yeah, and he won in a third round submission. So, and if you even look down a little, the third fight is a great one. Ricky Simon versus Mario Batista. That was a really good fight. I remember that. So, like, there was actually some decent stuff around this card. What was the first card of the year on for 2025?
Let's see. 2025 first card of the year was UFC Fight Night Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Hebos 2. And we had, submission. It was a rematch. Yep, submission win for Mackenzie Dern in round 3. Co-main event, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. And then third fight, Cesar Almeida versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan, first round knockout.
So it wasn't too spectacular. Well, that one's close to a push. I will say that's close to a push. I would like to give the nod to 2024, but it's a close to a push. So we'll just say they're even at this point. We'll make it like a 0-0-1 right now.
Okay.
The next thing was pay-per-view UFC 297. And it was Sean Strickland versus Duplessis, which was a great fight. The first Duplessis versus Sean Strickland was an awesome, close, split decision fight. Fight changed hands to Duplessis. I believe Duplessis did win that fight, but if people said Sean Strickland won that fight, I can't argue it either, because it was a damn close fight, and they should have honestly done the rematch right away, because the hype was there to do it instead of doing it a year later when people just want to get by this fight to see Khamzat Chimaev. But still, great fight. Pennington versus Maria Bueno Silva was actually a good fight too. I know people don't really care for women's title fights as much anymore, but that was a decent fight. And then you had Neil Magny. His last time he won a fight, he derailed the hype train against Mike Mallet, and Mike Mallet kind of blew his wad. So it was like there were some good fights on this. Then there was the robbery of Arnold Allen versus Mozar Evelev. Yeah, I forgot about that robbery.
That's true.
That was a robbery. True. That was some BS right there. But okay. But it was a good card. As much as there wasn't a huge name value on that card, other than the championship, the main event lived up to it. The main event was great.
Absolutely.
What was the second card in 2025?
Second card of this year was also a pay-per-view. It was UFC 311 on January 18th, headlined by Islam Makhachev, and that was the card that it was supposed to be Arman Saruki, and we had him versus Renato Moicano on 1 day's notice. So possibly a good headliner had it gone through, but ended up just being an absolute fucking steamrolling of Renato Moicano. Unfortunately, love Money Moicano, but getting the title shot on 1 day's notice, no hype whatsoever, no, nothing behind it. We had that fight on 1 day's notice. There was no build up. There was no press conference between them. There was just, we lost what we were going for, and here's our backup. Here's our replacement. So comparing that to Strickland versus Duplessis, that's no comparison. No comparison at all. Yeah. Absolute steamrolling versus one of the closest fights of the year. Yeah. Co-main event, Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Arguably the best fight on the card, arguably the most competitive one, although Merab Dvalishvili did kind of run away with it in the end. I know there are modes of thinking where people thought that Umar got robbed, but I'm not of that mindset. I think that it was clear cut for Merab. I remember thinking, like, at the end of round 3, Merab Dvalishvili started to kind of turn the tides. Umar had absolutely taken rounds 1 and 2, in my opinion, and I think on the judges' scorecards as well.
Yep.
Round 3 is where Merab kind of started to turn the tides. And I remember at the end of round 3, because Merab had started in with the kind of like, not so much showboating type, but in a way like showboating stuff, where he was, you know, kind of playing to the crowd and playing to the judges and everything. And I remember at the end of round 3, when they broke and were going back to their corners, Umar pushed Merab, and you could see like visible frustration on the side of Umar. And I remember thinking, dude, what are you mad about? You're winning this fight. Like, how are you winning this fight against the reigning champion? And he's got possibly one round on you now after 3, and you are visibly upset. You are already mentally breaking. So yeah, that was something that stood out to me. You know, the visible frustration on the side of Umar in a fight that he was winning at that point. That kind of sealed his fate for me on that one. That told me that he thought, even though he was up 2 rounds to 1, that things weren't really going his way from there on out. Yeah. And then best fight of the night, hands down, third fight from the main event, Yuri Prochaska versus Jamal Hill.
Oh yeah, then that was fireworks. That was great. Yeah. It's pretty hard to compare these fight cards, because it's like, I like the fights better on kind of the 2025 card, but the issue is that you had the 1-day notice pullout of in shooting up Moicano up onto against, and we missed out on getting Moicano versus Dariush and having Arman Suzuki and Islam Makhachev. Like, that card would have been really stacked, but then instead kind of got hurt quite a bit, because now no Beneil Dariush. Moicano's fighting Islam Makhachev on 1 day's notice, and it leaves a bad taste in a fan's mouth. Like, it's like, because I even said before, when we did our before the year thing, I said that I believe that Moicano will be fighting for a belt or be a number 1 contender by the end of the year. I wasn't expecting it to be in that kind of fashion. Yeah. So I guess my prediction was right, but I mean, that's not what I meant. So, I'll give the nod to 2024 there, because of all the drama shit that happened.
2-0 2024 right now.
You have a 2-0? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just go over for some of the fight nights. We'll just go over main event and co-main, unless there's like a fight underneath it that would just stood out so much that is like, it really helped it. Give me 1 sec. Oh, oops. I accidentally pressed past. Got to give me a moment to load now.
No worries.
Load.
We're going the third card of the year? Okay.
Yeah, we're just going to go. If you want to start by doing while I'm doing this.
Yeah, so for the third card of the year, 2025, this one, in my opinion, I don't remember what the third card of the year for 2024 was, but just based on this one, I feel like 2024 is going to get this one also. The third card of the year was UFC Fight Night Adesanya versus Imavov. And in the main event, all of the hype and the anticipation for Israel Adesanya coming back and fighting a non-title fight just to get knocked out by Nasruddin Imavov in round 2. Just very, very disappointing, very upsetting. Of course, we don't ever like to see any of our favorites lose, but seeing somebody who was one of the greatest middleweight champions of all time come back and try to make his ascent back up to the title fight and then just get knocked out in the second round by Nasruddin Imavov. And it's not a knock on Nasruddin Imavov. He's a very talented fighter, and I could absolutely see him competing for a belt in the future, maybe even later this year. But that just sucked, dude. That sucked.
Yeah.
Nobody Nobody wanted to see that happen, except for, maybe people in Nasruddin Imavov's camp, maybe Imavov himself. But I don't know anybody that was hoping, like, oh, dude, I really hope Imavov knocks out on us Adesanya. That just sucked. That sucked.
Yeah.
Co-main event, Shara Bullet versus Michael Page. Michael Venom Page, of course, always fun, but handing Shara Bullet his first loss in a decision fight, 3-round decision. 2 exciting strikers go to a decision. That's never fun. That's never.
And it wasn't that exciting of a fight. Like, Michael Venom Page, like, just kind of got in there, jabbed, ran, not ran, but he, how his crazy hop backwards is like someone running, but it's him hopping. He does this. He has insane karate style hops, like, so, and that it wasn't that great of a fight. You look at the 2 names, you would expect it to be a badass fight. It was not a badass fight.
No. And then the third fight from the headliner, Sergey Pavlovich, basically knocking Jairzinho Rozenstruik out completely of the UFC. And Sergey Pavlovich, again, like we were just saying, Sergey Pavlovich, dude who had like an average fight time of 1.5 minutes, all knockouts, all first-round knockouts, going up against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, another highly touted kickboxer, knockout artist, 3-round decision.
Yeah. So that was
so disappointing on all counts.
Yep. It's funny because Nasruddin Imavov was on the 3rd fight card here in the main event, but it was against Roman Dolidze, and it ended up being a split decision, and it was a pretty damn good fight too, if I remember. A lot of grappling. The stand-up was definitely in Imavov's favor in that fight, and that made the difference because to the ground, it was both of them were going at it. The co-main event, Renato Moicano versus Drew Dober, was a good fight, but kind of on the slower side, I will say. And then you had Randy Brown versus knocking the head off of Muslim Salikov. He killed him back in 2024. Yep. Like that was a big knockout. And honestly, I think we have to go 3-0 for 2024. And so, but the stack meter wasn't too high for this card, I will say, for this fight night. Right.
Yeah, and that kind of plays to their favor too. Whenever you have low expectations, it's not hard to exceed them. And then when you have high expectations for a card like Adesanya versus Imavov, Shara Bullet versus Michael Venom Page, Sergey Pavlovich versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Said Nurmagomedov versus Vinicius Oliveira, and then it's all decisions up until one of our fan favorites gets knocked out in the 2nd round.
Yeah. The 4th fight card, I'm going to make it real quick. I'm pretty sure 2025 has to beat this one. Jack Hermanson beating Joe Pyfer, taking some of the hype away, winning by decision by basically holding him on the ground for 4 of the 5 rounds. That's really what the fight was. Then the co-main event was Dan Ige knocking out Andre Fili. They just decided they're going to fight in the phone booth. And that's the Dan Ige fight you want to see. You want to see Andre Fili versus Dan Ige. Just put him in a phone booth and let's see what happens. So I will say the co-main event definitely lived up to the hype, if not past it, just because as soon as this fight was made, you're like, someone's going to see it. And nothing really else underneath here worth mentioning. Maybe Gregory Rodriguez KOing Brad Tavares. And that win actually ages pretty well because Brad Tavares just dominated Gerald Meerschaert. Yeah. My underdog pick that did not work whatsoever. So this card, not great, not good fight night. What did you have on the next one?
Ordinarily you would think that 2025 gets this one, but 4th card of the year was UFC 312, Dracus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland rematch.
That wasn't good either. That was not good.
Yeah, not good. High, like we were saying on the last one, expectations way up here, kind of fucking came in down here. So the Dracus du Plessis Sean Strickland rematch, 5-round decision. Sean Strickland going in, talking about, and we make jokes about it and everything, respectfully, of course. I have nothing but respect and love for Sean Strickland, but going in there talking about how it's going to be war, how they're fighting to the death, and then just gets a 5-round decision loss. Like, not competitively,
No.
not nowhere near as competitive as their first fight was. So quite the letdown in that regard. Co-main event, again, expectations. Weili Zhang versus Tatiana Suarez.
Yeah.
Dude, we were waiting for that. We called that like
for years basically.
Prior. Yeah, exactly, dude. We had been not only looking forward to it, but expecting Tatiana Suarez to go in there and be Weili Zhang's toughest competition that she had seen. Weili said, nope, 5-round decision. I got you. All good.
Yep.
Yeah. What was your opinion on that one? We were looking forward to that one for so long.
Yeah. I will say it just made it so much easier to just say Zhang Weili might be a top 3 greatest woman fighter of all time. Just that. And it basically also is, hey, let's move her up to 125. Let's straw weight. It's done. Like, we got Valentina Shevchenko versus Fiorot. After that, it's like you have all the other contenders fighting each other, coming off of 1 win or 0 wins. Like, I mean, right after this fight, perfect chance, end of the year. Guess what? Valentina or Manon Fiorot versus Zhang Weili. Like, I'm in. That's exciting. Hearing possibly Valentina Shevchenko, which I believe is the 2nd greatest woman fighter of all time. I do have Amanda Nunes, then her. Yes, people say Ronda Rousey, but I do have Ronda at 3. It's tough to do that, and also Joanna's up there too. But I think Ronda, you got to put up there for the factor of what she did for the women's sports. On top of it, you have to put that in there.
True.
But so I thought the fight was okay, but it wasn't what the hype was. So I'm still going to give it to 2024 though. I mean 2025, because 2 championship fights, pay-per-view.
Yeah. I
mean, the co-main event, it was impressive on one side. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might actually change your opinion on this one though, based on the rest of the card, because this is one that still haunts us all to this day. Everyone in the fight pit, especially Gage and his Maximus. The third fight, as far as our picks, we did well on this card. We had Weili, we had Drakus, my fight, the heavyweight fight, the only finish on the main card, Justin Tafa versus Taliesin Teixeira, 1st round knockout, called that one. So one of the few picks that I've had in 2025 that actually panned out exactly as I called it. And then your fight, Jake Matthews versus Francisco Prado, called it. Jake Matthews, 3-round decision win. And then one that might just on principle give 2024. We had the Jimmy Crute versus Adolfo Bellato draw.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy Crute's is cursed. I think that's what it is. He is just cursed.
It is now. Man. Yeah, it is now one of our main MOs to bet Jimmy Crute by a draw. We just mentioned it on the last episode too.
Yeah.
That Jimmy Crute by draw is you have to throw on Jimmy Crute draw every single time from here on out, because that was just one of those ones that not only damaged our records, but just kind of set the tone for the rest of the night. The Taliesin Teixeira knockout was not unexpected. That was something that we saw happening. We knew that either Taliesin Teixeira, because he's huge, he's a monster, dude. He's way taller, way longer. He's been knocking everyone out. That was not unexpected at all. That wasn't something. It was one of those knockouts where, like, we're always excited to see knockouts, but it was just one of those ones where you're like, yep, that's exactly what I saw. Not surprised at all. We were just waiting to see when it was going to happen, and it happened all of 35 seconds into the fight. So
my next fight card, is UFC 298. I don't think there's anything in 2025 that could beat so far 298. No. Like, I'm just going to read the card real quick. Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. Geoff Neal versus Ian Machado Gary. Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. And then Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. That's a pretty damn stack meter card. Like, that's what we want on a card. We want some names, and we want to see some good, like, Robert Whittaker looked beautiful. Ian Gary, that was a little bit of a dud, but he did win. Like, Merab, I mean, manhandled wrestling. Even though he got hurt in the first round, he manhandled Henry Cejudo the next 2 rounds in a decision and basically said, hey, I don't give a damn about your Olympic gold medal. Like, so, well, what do you have over there for 2025?
This one, I think, is going to be another landslide victory for 2024, given that the next card on 2025 was UFC Fight Night, Jared Cannonier versus Gregory Rodriguez. And aside from Jared Cannonier covering as the dog and being able to get the KO win in the 4th round, like we covered in our recaps, comeback win over a much younger, much more hyped fighter with momentum on his side. That was exciting. That was great to see Jared Cannonier bouncing back and getting that KO win, especially given that we had seen Jared Cannonier, who is an exciting fighter and a knockout artist in his own right, in so many exciting fights that just did not live up to expectations, ended up being either him getting finished, him losing decisions, or just the fight being very lackluster. And then speaking of lackluster, the co-main event, Calvin Kattar versus Yusuf Zalal. I don't think there's too much we can say about that other than just a heavy sigh. Yeah. The third fight, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, yeah, this one's a wash. This one's easy to pick on. I'm just going to my phone reset and did the thing again. So I was just getting to my next fight card. And
oh, no worries.
Yeah. Well, next one you might win. Well, 2025.
I don't know.
I have Brandon Moreno versus Royval 2. And that was pretty lackluster. And then the co-main was Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega, where Yair Rodriguez just gave up.
You know, even so, I think 2024 might take it, because the next one up on this one was the Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong card.
Oh, yeah. 2024 won that. Man, and that card looked so good, too. And it just, it totally, and that had name value. That had name value, too, and it just flopped. Yeah. I think Dan fell off the card.
No, it was no, this one, the Edson Barbosa versus Steve Garcia fight fell off. That would have been great. Okay. Curtis Blades was supposed to be on that card. That fight fell off. Rob Font versus Dominic Cruz was supposed to be on that card.
Oh, so yeah.
That fell off. Rob Font ended up fighting Gene Matsumoto at a catchweight, won a 3-round decision. The saving grace on this card, our boy, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez beating Brendan Allen in the co-main event. That could possibly sway, but then also the second fight on the main card, Jean Silva versus Melsik Bagdasaryan, in the now famous standing over him pictures where he rocked Melsik Bagdasaryan and dropped him, and then just had to stand over him looking at the ref like, really this isn't done yet, in your opinion? I really need to keep going. That was the most exciting thing to happen on that card. And that was the second fight on the main card. So we had 3 more fights after that all go to a decision, not the least of which the main event, where Henry Cejudo with the eye pokes and trying to drag it out and taking the whole 5 minutes and everything. Just very, very bitter taste in everyone's mouth at the end of that one.
Yeah. I'm actually going to lean towards I think this was the Mexico card. Yeah, this was Mexico City card. I'm going to go with Brandon Moreno on this one, and Royval. Even with it being lackluster route of Moreno not winning in Mexico until finally now in 2025, couldn't win in Mexico. I mean, that main event of Song Yadong and Henry Cejudo that's such a sore spot. I say we just kind of fire through some of these if they're fight nights and just get to I think there's only one more pay-per-view for me on my side.
Okay.
Because technically UFC 300's mid-April, and Brandon Allen versus Curtis is on April 6th, and technically there wasn't a card at that. We haven't had a card up to April 6th at that point. So I would stop with Blanchfield versus Fiorot. So I have Rosenstruck versus Gaziv. Actually not too bad. Rosenstruck beat him up.
Can you look at the date? What was the first card of March of last year? Is that the one that
Rosenstruck versus Kaziv, March 2nd.
Okay, so the first fight of March on this year was Manel Kopp versus Asu Almabayev card. Very low name value on this card. Got to shout out my boy Hyder Emil coming through on our homie Brandon Betancourt's birthday. That was the highlight of that card for me. And aside from the fact that 3 of the 5 fights on the main card for this one ended in a KO, beyond that was the highlight for me, in my opinion. Of course, I'm biased. The second fight on the main card, Hyder Emil covering over William Gomes as the underdog. You had Cody Brundage getting the KO over Julian Marquez in the co-main event, which didn't really. I picked Cody Brundage, so that didn't really surprise me. And then Manel Kopp getting a KO over Asu Almabayev. I don't think anybody was really surprised by that either.
Nope. But I still think your card wins this time because we had Umar Nurmagomedov versus a no-name minus 1,200 guy that jumped in on short notice because it was supposed to be Corey Sandhagen, and that didn't happen because Corey Sandhagen ended up getting injured. So it ended up being a short notice random fighter against Umar. Alex Perez versus Muhammad Mokayev. Decision merchant. Victor Petrino versus Tyson Pedro. You would think, knockout. Decision. Yairzo Rosenstruck versus Shamil Gaziv. 4 rounds. After the 4th round, they called it. And Rosenstruck won by KO, TKO, doctor stoppage. Still a slow fight. It was a slow fight, but he was picking him apart with a jab. A heavyweight picking apart with a jab is kind of disgusting for 4 rounds. Yeah. So I'm going to go with 20-25 on that one. So right now it's 4-2. Maybe?
I think I'm seeing 5-1 so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Well,
5-1.
6-1.
Okay. Well, the next one, 2024 wins UFC 299. Yep. I don't think we need to talk much more about that. Once again, there hasn't been a card in 2025 as good as 298 or 299. Do you have anything to really say? Who was at least the main event?
Next one up, it was UFC 313. Magomed Ankalaev beating Alex Pereira in a 5-round decision. Justin Gaethje having to fight Rafael Fiziev again because the Dan Hooker fight fell out. Absolutely disappointing. Ignacio Bahamondes beating Jalen Turner. Amanda Lemos beating Yasmin Lucindo. Saving grace, Mauricio Rufy knocking out King Green.
That was pretty awesome.
Only thing on that card really worth mentioning.
Yeah, and I will say the one fight on 299 just to shut down everything on 313. Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. That shuts down everything. Everything.
Yes.
So 299 wins that. and then,
let the record show, I did pick Dustin Poirier in that fight, and it did cover. Boom.
Yep. This fight night was interesting. I had Tai Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura, and Tybura basically ended Tai Tuivasa. Like he just got on him, started beating the fuck out of him, got the submission. Like, but he did it in first round. That's what we want to see with heavyweights. It's like, just get it over with. That's what you guys are here for. So, And then Brian Battle versus Anja Lusa. That kind of sucked because it was eye pokes. Could not continue. Could not continue due to eye pokes. So, yeah. This one's kind of rough. So, what did you have next? Not much better.
It's so bad, dude. Like, you can't. It's so bad to be like, oh, 2024, I think, is going to lose this one because of how terrible it was. 2025, this same card at the same time. Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze rematch. And then co-main event, Chidi and Joquani versus Elizu Zaleski dos Santos, second round KO. That's the most exciting thing I think that happened. We had Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Holobaugh, 3-round decision. Damon Blackshear getting a submission over Cody Gibson.
All right, we'll give it to 2025 just because Damon Blackshear, he's awesome. I just love watching him. So we're giving it to him. 2025 wins.
And also shout out Kevin Vallejos getting the first round KO. That was awesome. Yeah,
my next fight was Amanda Ribas versus Rose Namajunas, and Rose put on a masterclass. She looked extremely good against Amanda Ribas. And you had Carl Williams versus Justin Tafa getting a decision. I do not want to see two obese heavyweights getting a decision. Ever. Man,
that's hilarious.
That's rough.
Hilarious. Yeah. In comparison, the next one was the Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady card. Absolutely terrible picks-wise for us. We had Morgan Charrier. He got beat by Nathaniel Wood. We had Jordan Vucenic. He got beat by Chris Duncan. We had Molly McCann initially, but her fight fell out, and then she got beat by submission in the first round by the late replacement, Alexia Tainara. Kevin Holland beating Gunnar Nelson in a 3-round decision, possibly saving grace on that one. Carlos Olberg winning a 3-round decision over Jan Blachowicz. Again, finishers going to a decision. And then Sean Brady submitting Leon Edwards in the 4th round. Leon Edwards coming in, not looking like himself, not really putting up much of a fight. In one of the rounds, 2nd or 3rd round, 4 minutes, 57 seconds of control time, 0 strikes landed by Leon Edwards. It could be a wash, but I definitely don't think 2025 won that one.
The reason I like 2025 more, other than the co-main event of mine, was 2 obese heavyweights landing a combined 54 strikes in 3 rounds, and with 0 takedowns, which you would think there'd be takedowns.
Oh, gosh.
54 strikes between the 2 of them. And 2 of them, both of them are power punchers. So it's like, someone's going to sleep. No, we're going to decision. Yeah. And then you have a decision woman fight, which was good for Rose. But at the same point, it's like Sean Brady put on a clinic. He legitimately made you say, wow, we cannot have Shavkat be the next guy afterwards. We need now Shavkat versus Sean Brady to happen. So I'm going to give it to 2025 because, I mean, welterweight's the best division right now, and a big part of it is the guys are just, everyone's winning right now in welterweight. Welterweight's a great division, and I think 20 to 25 is going to be the welterweight year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
My last card, Aaron Blanchfield versus Manon Fior. I cannot say 2024 to save my life, even though I like the co-main event, because I remember making a video of immediately afterwards how pissed I was about this fight, because Aaron Blanchfield would throw one air jab and then dive at Manon Fior the entire fight. She kept doing that. And Manon Fior, great takedown defense, would just be beating the hell out of her, staying back, wasn't trying to get a finish. So it was like, one's not even trying to get a finish, but she can easily do it. And the other one doesn't know what a fucking jab is. Just is like, I'm going to try to manhandle you and not use any technique. And I was like, this might be, and this is number 2 versus number 3 in the division? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is why the women's get such bad rep because of this fight. Even though the co-main event was Vicente Luque getting his head crushed in by Joaquin Buckley. Like, that was Joaquin Buckley being on the ground with him and saying, I don't care about your second-degree black belt. I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
Yep.
But that main event was so miserable that it washes anything else on this card. It might have been the worst main event of 2024.
I can understand that. I will concede. It is going to be a tough argument, though. 2025 might win by default just based on that, but it's not going to be on merit because the comparison card was Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg card. Very, very disappointing. Yeah. Although Brandon Moreno did get, like you were saying, did get his win in Mexico. Manuel Torres getting the
that was good.
The KO over Drew Dober. Drew Dober just completely fucking out of it on that one. It was a mauling. It was unfortunate because we knew what was happening. We knew what was going to happen on that one. And I just really hoped, I was hoping and praying that Drew Dober would be able to put up more of a fight, but 1 minute and 45 seconds into the fight, Manuel Torres win by KO. Edgar Chairez getting the submission win in the first round. That was awesome. I did love that. Raul Rosas Jr. getting a decision. David Martinez getting the KO over Simon Oliveira. Excellent. And then I picked Ronaldo Rodriguez. He got beat by Kevin Borjas. So not super great picks wise on my account. You guys did really well. I think that you went undefeated on that one, like 5-0 or something. And then the only other card that's happened this year is the Lerone Murphy Josh Emmett card that just wrapped up. Not a whole lot of excitement on that one either. We had Cortavius Ramius losing by KO, O'Day Osborne winning by KO, and then all the rest decisions. Yeah.
So 2025 by our stats have been worse by 2024, which we knew that. But we didn't know it was this bad. And that's the thing. Like 2024 wasn't that stacked early on in the year other than the pay-per-views. In 2024 still smokes 2025. You think of the rest of 2024, how many insane cards we got back to back to back. The fight nights, the everything was insane. 2025 needs to get it together. Like, I don't know what the deal is. Like, I will say, I think it's UFC 315 looks pretty good. It's not too crazy. And 314 looks good. I will say it did take a hit. It did take a hit losing
Jeff Neal and Carlos Prates.
Yeah, but it does sound like but they're moving Prates over to 315 with Ian Gary. So it's like, I think I would have rather seen Jeff Neal fight just because they're gonna fight in a phone booth. But it's like, but at the same point, hey, we get to see if he could beat Ian Gary, he's legit. And that's
dude,
what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying 170 is the best division. I don't give a shit when people say 155. It's not 155. It's 170. Best division.
I'm with you on that. UFC. I'm with you on that. And if we see Carlos Prates one shot Ian Gary, oh my God, bro. I'm not an Ian Gary hater. I don't have any ill will or malintent towards Ian Gary. He's very skilled. He's very excellent. He surprised me. He did very well against Shavkat. Only person to make Shavkat look human at this point was Ian Gary.
Almost finished Shavkat. Almost finished him. He had him in a nasty submission.
Exactly. Almost got it. So this is going to be a really good test. Not that Jeff Neal was not a good test, because Jeff Neal is, Jeff Neal, hands of steel for a reason. Like him versus Carlos Prates would have been absolute fireworks, and somebody was getting put out in that one, like 100%. There's no way that Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates goes to a decision. There is a possibility that Ian Gary versus Carlos Prates goes to a decision. I hope it doesn't, but if Carlos Prates one-shots Ian Gary, dude, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then like we were saying too, the cards for 2024 early on, not as crazy, but did pick up steam and did pick up momentum. And granted, they were kind of more set up for success, being that the build up to UFC 300, UFC any 100 card is something that they're going to go all out for. We haven't had anything in 2025 where they were like, this is a huge, crazy, monumental event achievement, we got to go all out or anything, which is understandable. So it does kind of, you know, put 2024 ahead, being that it was the 300, the first time they ever went to the Sphere. Just a lot of reasons for them to go crazy.
Is there a problem with 2025, like in the UFC? And what we just answered by doing this is yes, there's a problem. And legitimately, we don't have a UFC 300 to look forward to coming up. And like legitimately, on years that don't have big milestones, the thing you're looking forward to is International Fight Week, and I believe that's late June this year. So it's like they better make something crazy for International Fight Week, or 2025 might be a wash year, like when it comes to UFC.
Dude, yeah,
that's what kidding. I think. Like that better be like Khamzat Chimaev versus DDP. Maybe even put in Whitaker versus Kyle Brahillo on that card too. That, because they've both said they want to fight. Like they're both down to. It's like, all right, yeah, then put those two against each other. You won't see me arguing about it.
That's a good call. Yeah. And at the moment, like we only have so many listed officially, and I haven't gone through to check like the Wikipedia or the UFC page to see which ones that they have scheduled for sure already. You can only do so many so far out because you know, things happen, and you know, you can't really plan like November cards in April. But at the moment, we got UFC 314 in Miami coming up this weekend. Today is the 9th, and it's going down on the 12th. So we got that one. Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez, excellent fight. Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett, excellent fight. Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull making his debut, excellent fight. Bryce Mitchell versus Jean Silva, excellent fight. And then, like we were saying, Jeff Neal and Prates falls off. They move up Nikita Krylov and Dominic Reyes. Not a bad fight either. Not a bad fight either. So 14 does have potential. 14 does have, you know, it is possible for 14 to kind of steal the show. But at the moment, as far as everything else that we have listed, the next one was supposed to be Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree, which I would have fucking loved, dude. I love Khalil Roundtree. That one's already fallen off, and we got Machado Gary versus Prates as the new main event. Not a bad fight, but the rest of the card, Anthony Smith's retirement fight against Zhang Ming Yang is the co-main event.
Oh my god, he's going to get killed. They're actually not going to retire him. They're going to kill him.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The third fight on from the top, Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. For diehards like us, awesome fight. Giga Chikadze, somebody that I was really hyped on, someone that I love because of his fighting style, his background. He has that like karate, taekwondo, point style of in and out type of movement. Very exciting striker. David Onama, also another exciting striker. So for diehards like us, that's a great fight. For just anybody looking to, if you're trying to get people to fucking tune in who don't, you know, the casual audience, which is who Dana White and the UFC is constantly pandering to, they got no fucking idea. Nobody's watching because of Giga Chikadze and David Onama. Michel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. Again, great fight for us. Nobody else is going to give a fuck. And then Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby, and Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. I believe that one's a reschedule also because that fell off another card. And then moving forward after that, Sandhagen versus Figueiredo card. Great fight.
Not bad.
No, not bad. Rainier de Ritter versus Bo Nickel. Not bad at all.
Wow, that's actually nice. I do like that. I do like that a lot.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Daniel Rodriguez. Love that fight. Love it.
All right, this one is kind of stacked. This is a fight night?
It is a fight night going down on May 3rd.
That so far is what we were talking about, what we want to see. We want it like none of these guys are like going to be co-main events and pay-per-views at the moment. So guess what? Why not stack them up on a fight night? Like
True. We might have spoke too soon because after those 3 fights, we got Junior Tafa versus Tuco Tokos and Montel Jackson versus Daniel Marcos.
I mean, it is a fight night, so having a 3-headed monster is good enough. It really is. Like, you don't need to have the whole fight night stacked up. But give us a 3-headed monster. We have enough great talent in the UFC to make a 3-headed monster, and that's what I wanted us to possibly do. Is let's make International Fight Week, like with fights that could legitimately happen
as often as possible. Hell yeah. On the undercard of that card, Misha Tate versus Yana Santos is headlining the prelims. Not bad. Not bad. I'm not mad at it. And
Main
then
value, at least.
Yeah, there you go. This is the one that got to shout out the homie Ryan Loader. Shout out to Ryan Loader. He's on this one against Azamat Bekoev. Never heard of him before. But the third fight of the night on the prelims, Marina Rodriguez versus Jillian Robertson. How is that not a main card fight? Am I wrong on that?
I agree with you, but at the same point, it's like it's women's MMA at this point. Like, but it's like I think but the thing is, like, that's a better fight than some of the women like main events they've had. Like and that's the sad thing about it. It's
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And then moving forward after that, we got UFC 315, Bilal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena, Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fior, Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales, Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva. Those are the only 4 fights on the main card at the moment.
See, the first 2 fights, you have me, and then Gilbert Burns is like 30. Gilbert Burns is like 38. They're feeding him to a young buck. But the thing
you
is,
had
Gilbert
us in the first half. You had us in the first half.
Then you got us with but Gilbert Burns is good enough to keep that fight to a decision instead of getting finished, and it could be a boring fight, possibly. Yeah. But Morales could make a name for himself too. Once again, 170, best division in the sport right now.
And he's still currently 17-0. Has not been a good year for undefeated fighters at all.
No, I think only 2 undefeated fighters won so far.
Yeah.
Not
the ones that we picked either.
Yeah, except LaRon Murphy, but that's about it. Like, yeah. Man.
Jose Aldo is fighting Ayman Zahabi on that fight. Also, I think that could possibly be one of his last ones.
Yeah, I don't know why he's doing it still. That kind of weirds me out. It's like if he's not fighting like either other big name like veterans, or like the fight that always got me. I know Dominic Cruz just retired, but was Jose Aldo versus Dominic Cruz. Is like, damn it, they could have
the one that you mentioned a couple cards back, Henry Cejudo versus Jose Aldo.
Yeah, why not?
Do it.
Like Henry Cejudo would sign up for that, even though he would probably be pretty heavily favored. I think he would sign up for it and be like, oh yeah, the name value. It's definitely like they could be a fight night main event, or it could be on a pay-per-view as like an opener or a second fight, like, or a prelim main event. Like, it's worth it. Like you don't need, like, Henry Cejudo is not going to fight for the belt again. Jose Aldo is not going to fight for the belt again. You still have money out of them. How about make them fight each other, make something out of it, and then you have like the winner fight a like guy that's up and coming to build on that guy instead of Jose Aldo coming off of a really boring loss held up against a cage, and then fighting some guy coming up. So it's like, that's not really going to help. That's really not.
No. And then to your credit too, having Jose Aldo as the main event of the prelim card on UFC 315 with Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena headlining, and then the very next card, the only two fights they have booked are the main event and the co-main. Main event for the card right after that, Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato. Why is
no way is that the main event?
That is the main right now as it sits. Main event. Paul Craig, Rodolfo Bellato.
Unbelievable.
Why is Jose Aldo not main eventing every fucking fight night card until he retires?
And even that, it's like he can even co-main a fight night card, but make the main event legit. Like make it against, like, it's crazy that fight nights, if you look back 2 years ago and even last year to some point, like even though I said like that woman's fight really pissed me off, it was the worst fight of possibly all of 2024, it was number 2 versus number 3. Main events were for championships and contender fights. It was not just two random guys going at it. Like, are either of those two even close to being ranked? Like, Paul Craig is not ranked by any means. And I didn't see a ranking next to the other gentleman. Like,
Rodolfo Bellato, I'm pretty certain, is not ranked. And Paul Craig, if I recall correctly, just recently, wasn't he at middleweight recently?
He was at middleweight, yeah. Did he move back up to light heavyweight?
This is a light heavyweight fight.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So, not that Paul Craig at light heavyweight is bad. He's big enough. He's well. Or he does well at light heavyweight.
But he got knocked out 3 of his last 4 fights at light heavyweight. So,
yeah.
I mean, that is, come on, 2025. Like, you had that really good fight night. 315 looked pretty good. And then you decide to shit the bed.
And then I'll just breeze through the main events that are listed as of right now. So there's 315, Bilal Muhammad, Jack Della Maddalena. The one before that, Sandhagen Figueiredo. Love it. The one before that, Prates and Ian Gary. Like we said, coming up after this. 314, Volkanovski and Diego Lopez. So the next 4... the next 4 cards starting this weekend, solid main events.
Proper main events. Proper.
Absolutely.
We'll see if they end up being solid.
Yeah, that's true. Solid bookings, at least. But after 315, we have Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato headlining a fight night. Then we have Aaron Blanchfield versus Macy Barber headlining a fight night.
It's 2 contenders, so it counts, but it's going to be such a fucking snooze. It's 2 wrestlers that are just going to stand there and not know how to throw a jab at each other. There might be 70 combined strikes in 5 rounds of fighting in that fight that land. The misses, there might be 200 missed shots of throwing air, making noises. So
oh man,
I'm going to sound like just a woman hater at this point, but it's not the case. I'm telling you about this is what we're going to watch. That's what that fight's going to be.
We try. We do our damned it. We are diehard fans. We absolutely put on for the women's divisions as much as possible. I was just saying, Marina Rodriguez versus Jillian Robertson. Why is that not on a main card? That should absolutely be on a main card, even if it's not a pay-per-view. There's no way that should be the 3rd fight on a fucking prelim card. No way. And then
cheeks. Lacking cheeks. Like look at that main event you just listed. There's a bunch of cheeks sitting there. That's the reason. That's right. That's the reason.
The only other card they have listed for this year so far, UFC 316, Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley, a rematch that nobody fucking asked for. Nobody wanted it.
Oh my God.
The co-main event on that one, Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. I can say that is what we wanted.
Yeah, that's the worthy fight. That's what should happen. Could it either be a snooze or Kayla Harrison domination? Yes.
Yeah.
There's the only two ways it's going is Kayla Harrison just holds her on the ground, hits her here and there, tries to go for submissions, or she absolutely pummelizes her and just ends the fight. So it's only going one of two ways. So
correct.
Nothing against it, but it's like it's just what has to happen. And maybe something will spark and you'll hear something about Amanda Nunes, and that's kind of one of the things I predicted was maybe after Kayla Harrison wins, might be Amanda Nunes kind of in the crowd, kind of wanting either the trilogy or Kayla Harrison.
Yeah.
You know,
I was going to say this fight, Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison, if Amanda Nunes is not coming back, this is the fight we wanted. 100%. Yeah. And unfortunately, after us going through this, it sucks to say, because I am always on the hill that, you know, anytime somebody trashes the Apex cards, or anybody says like we need to do away with the UFC Apex, we need to go back to having 2 UFC pay-per-views a year and all that stuff, I understand it, but I'm a fight fan. I don't want Saturdays with no card. Like how we're doing this right now and everything. We're doing this episode because there's no fight card for this week of the week that we're doing this. I don't like that. I want UFC fights on Saturdays. So I always say I would much rather have a UFC Apex card on a Saturday than have no UFC fights to watch at all. But going through all of this, I fully understand why people say they want to do away with cards, because this is very tough to argue for.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue right now is a combination of having high-ranked fighters not fighting and champions with situations going on. Like Islam, you can't just put him up against someone. He has wiped the division. Like, you can't just toss him in there with someone. You got to figure out this Ilia thing, the Armand, Charles. You got to figure that out. You can't just legitimately just say, unless you say Ilia versus Islam. So Ilya's not going to be fighting. I know Islam's not going to be fighting. You look at 170. The guy that's top 3 in the division right now that hasn't fought at all, Kamaru Usman. You haven't been here for years at this point. Fight or get out of the way. Now you're calling out Sean Brady, but before Sean Brady called you out and you wouldn't fight him, now you're calling him out. It's like you're pulling a surreal Gone Tom Aspinall situation. Like you got Jon Jones issue. What's going on there? You have Pantoja possibly going to fight Kai Kara-France off of one win, which I think it would be a fun fight. But at the same point, it's a one win versus in a row versus a guy that's dominated the division versus it should have been him fighting Merab. So we're just screwing up all the champions and the top contenders right now.
Yeah. And then we got Merab rematching Sean O'Malley, which nobody asked for. And then Magomed Ankalaev just dethroned the most exciting fighter in the light heavyweight division. So now who do you put up against Magomed Ankalaev to make people buy that pay-per-view?
Yeah, and it's like you don't want to see that. The thing is, Alex Pereira is going to get the rematch. It will be in October. I called that earlier, and I think it's going to be the case. It will be in Abu Dhabi, the rematch, and it will go the same way, if not even better, for Magomed Ankalaev. It really will. It's I said it at the beginning of the year. I said the champion at 205 will be Magomed Ankalaev. He's the champion, and he will beat Alex Pereira again. No doubt about it. So that division has a little bit of an issue too. Like, a lot of these champions have issues. I wanted to maybe, because International Fight Week doesn't have any fights on it currently, I wanted to possibly make International Fight Week main card. 2 championship fights and then 3 fights to go with it.
Okay.
Yep. That's what I was thinking. For my main events, I think it's pretty obvious. Duplessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. They both are able to fight. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to fight. There's no Muslim holiday currently at that point at the end of June. During the beginning of June there is, but at the end of June there isn't. So Khamzat Chimaev might have to train through a little bit of it, but he should be good to go for International Fight Week for the championship. That's my main event. People will definitely want to see that fight. Duplessis, he's a dog, and Khamzat Chimaev is a beast.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a different main event, or do you think that's the main event you would go with currently?
I'm down with that as the main event. I could possibly think of other main events that I might want to see, but none that really I would say make sense or like further to the division or anything. It would just kind of be like dream matchup type stuff. I will say that one fight that I for sure would want to see on there too is being that Khalil Rountree's fight just fell out with Jamal Hill. I would love to see Khalil Roundtree versus either Yuri Prochaska or Carlos Ulberg rebooking on that one. I think either of those would be awesome fights. Maybe not the highest name value. Khalil Roundtree definitely has some more fans after that showing against Pereira now. So not the biggest name value unless you're diehards like us, but I think that either of those fights, it would be absolute fireworks.
Yep. I agree. So my second championship fight, I was looking at the women's divisions, but I just don't see where you have Valentina fighting not too long beforehand. So it's like that belt won't be defended. Zhang Weili has no one to fight, and she's looking to move up. So that means she would have to fight Valentina or Manron Fiort. Not happening. 135 belt's going to be defended kind of like 315 if I'm correct, so they won't be ready most likely. So unfortunately, I'm not going to put a women's title fight, and it's not because of that, it's because scheduling. I'm going to say the winner of this weekend being the Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. Guess what? These two like to fight often. Legitimately, they love it. So guess what? They're going to be on the co-main event of the International Fight Week. If it's Volk or Diego Lopez, whoever it is, and they will be fighting the winner of Movsar Evloev versus the guy that who did he just get scheduled from PFL or Bellator? He just got scheduled against a guy that's making a UFC debut from another organization.
Aaron Pico.
Yeah, Aaron Pico. And that's the thing. Like, all right, put him up against him. If he beats undefeated Movsar, all right, he's in. And if not, if Movsar wins Evloev, obviously he's a decision merchant, but at the same point, he has a win over Diego Lopez. He's never fought Volk. Volk has to deal with an incredible grappler, possibly. I'm into it. Like, fine. Put that as a co-main event. Possibly, the last time Volk went against a guy with an O, kind of got knocked out. So it's like, can he get his revenge on the undefeated fighter? So,
I like that. And Volk did say in the press conference, too, that he plans on winning and defending this belt. He plans on making this a legit campaign again. So I'm all for that. The only caveat, though, the updates that I'm seeing when I typed in Movsar Evloev is that the Evloev and Pico fight has already fallen out. Something happened. So we could just straight up schedule Movsar Evloev in that.
That's totally fine with me.
Yeah,
because he's
don't
undefeated.
even have to worry about it.
He's legitimately beat one of the guys that is in for the title. He has wins against Arnold Allen, which I still think robbery, but he has wins against Aljamain Sterling, Calvin Kattar. So he has a couple good wins all in the rankings. So he has 3 wins in the rankings. So it's like, I mean, it's worth putting him in. Like, why not?
Oh, yeah.
And he's undefeated. And And I bet you Diego Lopez wouldn't be against it either. Get a little. Sometimes these guys, like we talked about Sean O'Malley with going against Cheeto Vera.
Cheeto
wanted that revenge. It's like, you know what? Hey, I think Diego Lopez would be down. Like, all right, I'm gonna get my revenge. Let's do this.
Absolutely. And again, as far as title fights, like I said, I think you pretty much nailed it. It's not a whole lot of like title fight looks that I can think of that would be great for that one. But as far as fights that I would want to see on there, I think if Ilia versus Charles Oliveira is going to happen, International Fight Week, damn good time to do it. Exactly. Damn good time to do it. Also in that division, I really want them to rebook that Justin Gaethje Dan Hooker fight. I think that would be a banger for International Fight Week.
He said he'll be back by early June. He said he'll be ready to go by early June. That's what Dan Hooker said. Obviously, if you look on his Instagram, you see that hand, and you're like, boy, I don't know if you're ready for 2025. I don't know what you're talking about. But that's Dan Hooker. They call him a psychopath for a reason. Like,
it's true. That's true.
Everyone around him says he's a psychopath, and legitimately, he lives that style.
Yeah. And then in lightweight, the only other lightweight fight that I would think warrants, unless we find some way to throw Max Holloway for a BMF title fight on there somehow, that's a whole different discussion. But should Michael Chandler get this fight with Paddy Pimblett done very quickly and very decisively and very exciting, and put himself back in to one of the most exciting fighters on the roster conversation, I think that we could rematch Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje for International Fight Week. Should it work out that Michael Chandler puts himself back in that discussion? Because as of right now, he's fighting somebody way below where the upper echelon is in the talks with. Chandler has been in those talks for a while. He's been fighting top 5, top 7, top 9 fighters ever since he got in. But right now he's sitting at number 7 and he's fighting number 12. So he's really going to have to fucking put something together. But would you be opposed to seeing Chandler versus Gaethje again?
I wouldn't, but I keep saying 155 is not the division anymore to me. It's 170. Yeah. It's True. 170. There is, but True. I will say the 185, the one fight that I do want to see big time. I mean, Robert Whittaker versus Kyle Brahillo, 5 versus 6. Why not? Like, that sounds amazing. Yeah. But also in welterweight, Shavkat Ragmanov versus Sean Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, and then another one, Kamaru Usman, you've rested long enough versus Joaquin Buckley. Come on.
Ooh, yeah.
So it's like,
I like that.
You could put any of the fights we just said, like we could have Khalil Roundtree versus Yuri Prohashka, or you could toss in what's the other guy's name we just talked about, the light heavyweight, Carlos Olberg.
Roundtree. Olberg.
Khalil Roundtree, Carlos Olberg, and Yuri Prohashka. Pair up any of those. Any of them.
Yep.
Figure it out. Any of those fights we said, you put it on the card together. Guess what? That is the most stacked card of the year, 100%. And people are going to be like, oh, damn, can't miss this. And you could even have, like, if you wanted to, you've done it before. They've done it before. Like UFC 300, they had Yuri Prohashka versus who was he fighting against at the time? Ratchik as the main event of the prelims. Like, you could do that. You could have a Carlos Olberg, Yuri Prohashka, or a Khalil Roundtree, Yuri Prohashka main event of the prelims, and have all those other fights we mentioned in the main card. You could do that, and it's not going to break your pocket. And on top of it, it's the International Fight Week. You're always in the green. Always.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Stack it, baby.
And honestly, we should save this clip just so when it comes out and they put up some horrible goddamn card, we could just be like, dude, fire everyone in there and hire us, because legitimately you could
the FightPit.
Yeah, you could put some people with no names that are still exciting on the prelims. Like, for example, like not a no name, but Joshua Van's only getting, like, if I'm correct, he's getting 30-30. So it's like put Joshua Van in the prelims. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like, you got some exciting fighters that you could put down there.
Yeah. Before we wrap it up, the only other one that I'll throw out there too, we've been waiting on this for a long time. The time is now. We got number 11th ranked Stephen Thompson versus number 15th ranked Michael Venom Page. We need it. We need it. Put it anywhere on the card. It's time. Get it over with. Get it done. It should have happened already, but we're running out of time. We're running out of time on that. So that's the only other one for sure. But I do like those other ones that we said. And of course, you know, this is wishful thinking, but if you are going to make the Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight.
Yeah, I know, but it's just, that's why I avoided saying Islam versus Ilia or Jon Jones versus Aspinall, because I wanted to make it a card that could actually happen. Like, all these fighters, their schedules make sense for this to happen. They all have openings to do it on this date. Like, every one of these fighters. Another one is Fluffy. Does he have anyone scheduled anytime soon?
I don't think so.
Jared Cannonier.
That would be sick. Oh, dude, we were talking about it last year. Fluffy versus Caio Borralho.
Yep, that's going to happen someday. It really is. That can
happen.
Yeah,
baby.
As much as I want to see that, I think Caio needs to keep fighting upwards. He needs to fight one of those guys, Imavov. He needs to fight Robert Whittaker, even Israel Adesanya. But Israel Adesanya, I don't think will be, after a KO loss, I don't think he's going to be fighting by International Fight Week. I think he's going to take most of the year off if he comes back this year. So it's like, I think he needs to fight up, but Fluffy versus Jared Cannonier, that, hey, he stopped one of the hype trains. Hey, well, come on, let's see. Let's see. You want to go again? Baby. One of the hardest guys to take down in the whole UFC versus Fluffy. I mean, this is a test. This is a rough matchup for Fluffy, but at the same point, it's like, let's see, can he crack it?
But I love it. I love it. I absolutely.
That could be on the prelims. Legitimately, that could be in the prelims.
I could. Yep. Man. All right. We're going to wrap this up. Excellent stuff. Beautiful. Thank you guys for joining us. Sean, always great sitting and chatting fights with you, man. Any final thoughts? Any parting words? Anything you want to get out?
What is your guys' opinion? Do you think 2025 has been a dud? Do you think that it's going to get a lot better? What is your opinions and what could be done? And honestly, make your own International Fight Week. I want to see a list of your International Fight Week fights in the comments section. Really do. I want to see how good they could be. Maybe we'll be like, oh yeah, you're way smarter than us. Like, we're fight fans. We love hearing great ideas.
Hell yeah, dude. Any International Fight Week fights that you guys got, definitely drop them in the comments. Let us know. I'll clip a lot of these too, so we'll be seeing them on Instagram, I'm sure. And I'll just say it. You guys were asking for these Magomed Ankalaev, Bilal Muhammad, Merab Dvalishvili type of champions, saying that it's their time. This is their time, and look what we got. Look where we're at. 2025 has been an absolute shit show. So I hope you're happy with yourselves, folks. This is what you did. We appreciate you guys for joining us. Thank you to all the returning subscribers. Welcome to anybody who's seeing us for the first time. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit subscribe so you can be updated on when all of our episodes drop every single week. Go on over and follow us on Instagram. Boom, right there. At the Fight Pit podcast on Instagram. You can find us all there every single day, every single week, every single UFC card, and even when there isn't UFC cards. Obviously, we're going to be here, and we hope that you'll join us. So appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a good one. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
got a drink next to the team, yeah, we can handle it. Wait, soon as I go